And joining me now is Mann Leverett. She's a former White House official who worked on Mideast policy for Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush. Good to see you again, Hillary. So the message from President Obama to the Palestinians is that you won't get peace unless you negotiate with Israel. Forget about the UN route altogether. But as you and I know, 20 years of negotiating has got the Palestinians absolutely nowhere. So why is President Barack Obama offering up another 20 more years of talking?
I don't even know if I'd be as optimistic as that to say he's even offering up 20 years more of discussions. I think he's offering them nothing. There's really nothing in this offer for the Palestinians. President Obama came to office and spoke as if he understood the critical importance of a peace process, not just for Palestinians or Israelis, but for Americans, what the American national interest was in a peace process for our credibility in the Middle East. But that is all gone. That's not in any of his rhetoric. That's not in any of his positions. And I think we have to really question whether these kind of impulses he had for strategy in the Middle East, whether they were real and genuine, whether they represent Barack Obama, or whether his initial appointments should have given us more pause and more concern about what he'd do in the Middle East. His appointments of people like Secretary Clinton, Vice President Biden, Dennis Ross, people who had clearly articulated positions and stands on the Middle East and experience during the 1990s with President Clinton that were clear failures. His initial decision to appoint those people and vest them with Middle East policy is really what we see on display today.
Talking about, the American public, but also global opinion here, I mean, he never even really bothered in his speech to make any kind of argument for why the United States would use its veto. It was almost like, because we can.
That's a critically important point. I think historians will look back on this day and say that there could have been a consequential American president who could have changed the course of history for the United States. He had the chance to revolutionize our relationship with Muslim states by supporting UN recognition of statehood for the Palestinians. Other countries recognize the Palestinian state. It's a question of UN recognition of statehood for Palestinians, just as the US supported UN recognition of Israeli statehood. But his failure, his decision not to do that, I think will be looked back by historians as a really consequential moment in failed leadership.
And during his speech, he had a very robust defense of Israel. He talked about the plight of the Israelis. What we didn't hear from him was about the plight of the Palestinians. It was almost like a very one-sided kind of argument. There was nothing about the Palestinians who have been waiting for their freedom for 40 years. No discussion about that whatsoever.
And he compounded that with, I think, a really powerful, compelling argument about human rights broadly, human rights for all peoples. But then he gets to the Palestinians and they don't qualify. Universal human rights that he supposedly stands for don't qualify for this category of people. I really think historians will look back and wonder how a president with such promise could have exhibited such a failure of leadership on such an important day.
Mann Leverett, thank you very much for joining us, Hillary.
Thank you very much.